Trojan Sports Now.
Hello and welcome to Trojan Sports Now. I'm Jahmal Kennedy.
And I'm Ryan Renfrow. Stick around as we bring you the latest news and scores from Troy Athletics. Starting off 84-81. That was the final score of the last game between the Troy men's basketball team and Arkansas State. And it was a game that added fuel to the fire of that 6-game losing streak for the Trojans that we really don't need to talk about. But on Saturday, the two teams met for a second time this season. So sit back and get comfortable for this one. In the first half, the Trojans led by as many as 12 points and went into the break with a 39-34 lead after the Red Wolves responded with a 10-3 run of their own. But in that second half, boy, did it get intense. The Red Wolves used a 19-6 run late in the second half to take a 66-61 lead over the Trojans with just over 4 minutes remaining. And then the Trojans answered the call as Daniel Peace and John Walton III both hit jumpers to cut State's lead. And then with 3 seconds to play, the Red Wolves drew a foul on a 3-point attempt, and after making the first 2, missed the last free throw, and the Trojans took home the win by a final score of 71-70. Here is assistant coach Marcus Grant on the men of Troy breaking through their tough stretch.
Oh, it's been tough this year. We've had 4 or 5 games to just go either way, and unfortunately they've gone the wrong way for us. So to finally come out on the right side of a close one, that was a great feeling for our guys, and it gave them some confidence heading into this week.
The Trojan men's basketball team had a pair of double-doubles, but it wasn't enough to defeat Georgia Southern as Troy fell to the Eagles 77-71 last night in Trojan Arena. John Walton III had 20 points and 13 rebounds, along with Sean Hopkins' 18 points and 10 rebounds. This was Hopkins' first career double-double. Wesley Person added 16 points, including a trio of three-pointers to extend his streak of consecutive games with the Trays to 53 games. Head coach Bill Cunningham says the team started off strong but couldn't finish.
Well, we started off the game really well, played well, shot well, defended well, and then they got in a little rhythm there at the end of midway through the first half, and from that point on, I just never felt like we never could build on anything. We couldn't put together any consistency on either side of the ball.
Troy will look to get back on track Saturday afternoon when it hosts Georgia State. Tip-off is scheduled for 4:15 p.m.
And on the women's side, the Trojans took the court just before the men's team facing off against the #1 team in the Sun Belt Conference, Arkansas State. The Trojans and the Red Wolves battled it out in a game that saw 20 lead changes. The Trojans were trailing 39-38 by the end of the first half, and with 6 minutes and 6 seconds left to play in the game, the Trojans had a 71-70 lead. But out of nowhere, the Red Wolves hit 6 of 7 shots, including back-to-back three-pointers to go on a 16-3 surge, defeating the Trojans by a final score of 94-80. But head coach Chandler Rigby knows her team must keep up the fight.
We're going through a slump right now, and you got to keep batting. If it was a batter slump, you'd keep batting and you'd stay positive. Of course, we're evaluating internally things that need to change or need to be different. We're always open to that, but you got to stay positive and keep believing in each other as a team.
The loss made 6 straight losses for the women's team.
Last night, the women and men's teams both played host to Georgia Southern, and the women's team tipped things off first, looking to snap a 6-game losing streak. The Trojans took home the W by a final score of 84-68. And if you ask the Trojans, this win wasn't just good, it was more than good.
Great. It feels wonderful. Now we can just feedback off of this and then get better and let's win on Saturday.
It was very good to get a win tonight. Of course, we've been through a stretch of learning experiences that we need to get back on the winning side, and it was great to do that tonight.
The Trojans found themselves on the winning side after a first-half performance from junior guard Arjaya Saunders.
I thought that Arjaya Saunders held the rope for us in the first half, not only with her shooting, but with her rebounds. She had 7 rebounds at halftime, and that just shows how bad she wanted to come out and win tonight.
And in the second half, the Eagles cut the Trojan lead to 7 points. But this time, the Trojans refused to back down.
We've had teams turn over and take the lead from us in the past, and so it was that moment everybody was looking like, is this going to happen again? And we just said, no, it's not. And the way we're not going to allow it is solid defense and make sure we get every rebound.
And when that second half lead was cut to 7 points, it was a senior leader who answered the call, scoring 14 points in the fourth quarter, and 11 of Troy's final 16 points.
But Ashley Beverly Kelly really came through in the second half and kept us out of reach for Georgia Southern. She had some crucial rebounds down the stretch, but both of them hit big shots.
Arjaya Saunders ended the night with 26 points, with ABK following close behind with 24.
The Troy men and women's track and field teams were back at the Crossflex again for the Jaguar Invitational last weekend, where they took down several conference opponents in team and individual finishes. Underclassmen led the way for the Trojans as head coach Mark Davis weighs in on the state of his team.
We're doing pretty well. We're coming along well. We're starting to get some PRs, hit some big PRs, getting close to some PRs. A lot of kids are where they were last year at this point or beyond it. So, I mean, we're excited going into Sunbelt.
For the women, sophomore Nyada Alexander sprinted to a second-place finish in the women's 400-meter dash with a time of 56 seconds, while junior Dallas Worthy followed closely behind at 57 seconds. The women's 4x400-meter relay team placed 7th out of 16 teams, which was the highest out of other conference foes. Sophomore Sydney Wright qualified for the women's finals in the 60-meter dash as she ran a 7.64-second time. Rounding out for the women, freshman India Somerville placed 6th in women's shot put. And as for the men, standouts included freshman Tyson Robinson, who finished 3rd in the men's 800-meter run. Sophomore Garrison Ford placed 3rd in the 60-meter hurdles, and junior Zach Douglas placed as the runner-up for the 2nd consecutive meet in the men's shot put throw.
And the Troy men's golf team is back in the swing of things as a pair of Trojans competed at the Savannah Quarters Individual Intercollegiate on Monday. Redshirt junior Sean Stone carded a 1/73 in the first round and a 7/79 in the final round to shoot an 8/152 in the rain-shortened event to finish in a tie for 18th place. Redshirt sophomore Hunter Davison competed for the first time as a Trojan and finished in 47th place.
The Troy men's tennis team played its 7th ranked road match last Friday when they squared off against number 56 Auburn, and they were unable to defeat the Tigers as they fell 6 matches to 1. The doubles team of Vaclik Slazik and Andre Baldo won their competition. In the singles matches, Pablo Marino was able to take down his adversary to break a string of 5-match wins for Auburn. In the midst of the unfortunate turnout for the Trojans, a ray of sun shined as their top player from last year returned from injury and played his first match of the season. Hassan Yashme returned for the Trojans last Friday, but he unfortunately lost his singles match. Troy would look to turn around their fortunes last Sunday.
That's right, Ryan. Last Sunday, the men's tennis team faced off against yet another ranked opponent at number 63 Alabama. This day, however, was highlighted by tiebreakers. 6 different matches led to tiebreakers between the Trojans and the Tide, and unfortunately for the Trojans, the Tide came out on top as they defeated the Trojans overall 5 matches to 2. Junior Pablo Marino tied the overall score at 1 match apiece when he secured an easy win in straight sets. The Tide then won 2 straight matches before Daniel Bustamante put an end to the Tide streak by winning his singles match over the number 123rd ranked singles player in Alabama's Becker O'Shaughnessy. The Trojans fought hard in their last 2 matches as Giovanni Samaha and Tomas Fernandez were able to force tiebreakers within their matches, but the Tide proved to be too strong as they won the last 2 matches to end the Trojans' afternoon.
Troy men's tennis senior Daniel Bustamante earned the first national singles ranking of his career on Wednesday, debuting at number 114 in the Oracle ITA Collegiate Tennis Division I men's singles rankings. Bustamante has moved to the top of the Troy singles lineup this season and is the only Sunbelt player in the rankings. The senior is fresh off of a win over Alabama's Becker O'Shaughnessy, who was ranked number 123 last weekend when Bustamante beat him, but is now ranked number 100 in the nation. Bustamante and the Trojans return to the court on Friday when they travel to take on Winthrop at 1 p.m.
Going into last weekend, the women's tennis team started to roll, winning 3 straight matches. That streak, however, ended at number 40 Auburn when the Tigers defeated the Trojans 7 matches to 0. The Trojans would see better results in their next match.
Yes, Jahmal, that's right. The women rebounded soundly against UT Martin last Sunday after falling behind early. The match was a neutral site match, and the Trojans opened up by losing a pair of doubles matches. The Lady Trojans, however, would dominate in singles competition, winning 5 of the 6 matches. Nancy Karaki got the ball rolling for the Trojans as she took down her opponent in straight sets, winning 6-1 and 6-4. Sunny Oda set the Trojans up for the match win with her 6-1, 6-3 victory, and then Efralia Herlina brought it home for the Trojans as she won her singles competition 7-5 and 6-3. Jaiwan Zhu threw on a bow for good measure as she capped the day off with a win that went to a 3rd set. And stay tuned for a preview or a look at tonight's softball season opener.
Yeah, that's right. But first, Khadija Torbert sits down with softball senior outfielder Leah Brundage. Stick around for more Trojan Sports Now.